Hello everyone, welcome to the 5 Minutes Podcast. Today I like to discuss one thing that is becoming, I would say, a permanent concern in my mind. The project is complex enough. Do not make your management even more complex. Let me tell you, there is a natural trend when we see the project or the initiative becoming more and more complex. What do? You tend to create a very cumbersome process to manage it. So you create layers of different controls, people reporting to people that report to people that report to people. And at the end, you start spending most of your energy doing meetings, preparing report, with a small amount of time, effort, and focus destinated on building the product, on managing that specific initiative. So it's very important. If your project is complex, you don't need to transform your management in a complex environment. You need to simplify. So one thing that I love to say is that if 10 people are saving the world, one is really doing the work. And 9 of them are just checking if the one that is saving the world is saving using the proper form. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So what you need, and look, this is not an exclusivity of the agile mindset. It's agility. It's above and beyond the method. It's an agility mindset. How I can have a flat structure, how I can remove bureaucracy, no matter if I'm using waterfall and building a nuclear power plant, or if I'm doing the next release of my software for social media. Did you get that? So you need to think what I can do to kill bureaucracy. What I can do to kill bureaucracy. What I can do to streamline process, approval process, decision process. So it doesn't make sense. I remember 9 years ago when I got certified in Prince. And one of the principles of Prince is management by exception. And that it's one of the things I love most about their process. It's you manage the exception. You don't do meetings every day just to say everything is fine. And the next day, everything is fine. You are just losing time. What do? You do a meeting if there is something that is exceptional, that requires a different course of action. Otherwise, people will stay doing Zoom calls or doing meetings all around the clock, and they do not have time to do the actual work. Imagine a development software project. You have 10 people really doing the code and 90 people taking a look if the 10 people that are building the code, they are producing the relevant documentation of the code they are producing. It doesn't make sense. Of course, I'm not saying that documenting the code is not important. Please, it's very important. But you need to agree with me that is less important than developing the code. Because if you don't develop the code, there is nothing for you to put in a document. So think about that. So we need to have a proactive behavior of simplification. What I can do to streamline process. Most of the companies, even more than incumbent companies, they suffer dramatically because they became complex. They became so cumbersome that they cannot get the job done. Because the process is so complex, so bureaucratic. Most of the governments are the same. They became so complex, so bureaucratic that just nothing happens. Because for you to move, you need to have so many layers that you don't get the job done. And you can see today with COVID-19. So let's simplify. There is only one final thing I want to share with you about that. Is that when you start simplifying, you are empowering people. And you are giving people more responsibility. And this is a challenge because you need to make sure that your teams are ready to take this additional responsibility. Because one of the key principles of this agile mindset, or for example, the startup mindset, is that people feel accountable for the work. So you don't need to supervise too much. You don't need to check everything because you trust people and people are trustable to do the work. If you don't have that, then it's a more complex environment. So you need to nurture and create an environment that people feel empowered to make the decisions. This is how you can make transformation work. This is how you can make a project to be delivered. And this is how you can succeed. If you look successful companies and compare with poor performing companies, you'll see that one of the key aspects of this poor performance is excess of bureaucracy. That just kill every single productivity factor you may have in place. So think about that and go with the mindset of keeping things simple. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and see you next week with another 5 Minutes podcast.